Hello, my name is Caden Bradger, and today I will be doing a presentation for my biology class. This presentation is on finding a disease on a specific um, system of the body that we have went through, and I decided to choose the digestive system. And in the digestive system, for research, I decided to pick the Crohn's disease. So this is my little, rap sheet. What I done put together. I tried to do it through Zoom, and the best I could do was get my picture here, and I'm screen recording through my computer. I tried to put it in a slideshow, and I don't gotta get into that. But anyway, this is gonna be my presentation. So in the beginning, we got the background info. Now, as you can see, so to start with the basics, Crohn's is really a part of a group called inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD for short. A big mistake people make is thinking it's only in the stomach. It can actually show up literally anywhere from your mouth to all the way to the end of the GI tract, which is most of the time, though it hangs out in the small intestine and the colon. Since it's chronic, there isn't really a cure yet, so patients basically have to manage it for their entire life. It's most common in the distal ileum, which is just a fancy word for the small intestine, and it's chronic. It relapses and remitting. I feel pretty bad because it's not great. I also sometimes hear that it's basically people almost awaiting their deaths eventually over time because it's. But you know what? Let's not. On to the next slide. We have signs and symptoms. So you got abdominal pain, and often in the lower right quadrant. Yeah, diarrhea, fatigue and fever, weight loss, blood in the stool. Yeah, it's like when you look at the symptoms, it's pretty brutal. I mean, you're looking at, like, again, of course, intense abdominal pain and chronic diarrhea, which leads to things like fatigue, weight loss, because the body just isn't absorbing the nutrients right at all. Like, you quite literally have to eat specific things with this Crohn's disease because your stomach does not react well to to everything whatsoever. Like, especially things I'm pretty sure like meat. Some people even see blood in their stool, which is usually a big red flag that something is wrong, and it indeed is not just a physical problem. It's like really draining for the person who has it, and like you can't have anything but sympathy for them because they're dealing with this every single day. It doesn't just go away. Like, you're gonna have an issue all the time. Moving on to my next slide, which is etiology. Now the exact cause we don't know. We really just don't fully know. It's not like catching a cold. It's more like a perfect storm where your immune system is already a bit glitchy, and then you add in things like stress or a bad diet or smoking. Your body basically starts attacking its own digestive lining by mistake. It's a pretty inappropriate response to commensal good bacteria. It's also linked to mutations in the NOD2 gene. And like I said, the triggers: smoking, high-fat diets, stress, things of that nature. Now moving on to molecular mechanisms. Now, before I even get to explaining what the frick this is, if we look under the microscope at the molecular level, this is where it gets technical, because there is an overreactive immune response happening. Like, these things called cytokines, I believe, specifically one called TNF alpha, basically go into overdrive and cause constant inflammation. When I say constant, I mean constant. This ends up wrecking the gut barrier, so the gut barrier, so the lining of the intestines just gets completely damaged, and it can't do its job of keeping bacteria out and absorbing food properly. So you see it here, cytokines overload is excessive release of TNF and S-alpha-S, all of that. Is dysregulation of T helper cells leads to chronic tissue, damage to the goblet and pineal cells. It weakens you, and the transmural inflammation. It results in transmural inflammation, and it affects all layers of the intestine wall. Moving on to slide 6 is the diagnosis. Now, doctors can't just guess it's Crohn's, so they use a few different tools. They'll do a colonoscopy or an endoscopy to actually see the inflammation side. They also run blood and stool tests to look for inflammation markers, like basically chemicals that show the body is fighting something. Sometimes they'll even use CT scans or MRIs to see how much the intestine is actually thickened or scarred. So like I said, don't zoom into me like that. But like I said, you got the biopsy, checking for granulomas. Obviously using the endoscopy and colonoscopy to visualize inflammation of cobblestone. They use the CT. I can't really see the name right now, but I understand what they use for imaging: the CT scans, the MRIs, and the biomarkers, which is high fecal calprotectin and C-reactive protein. Right. Now to the next slide. So before we get into the whole biologics of, I'll just go ahead and say that you got the biologics, the anti-TNF agents, and IL-23 inhibitors. You got the oral JAK inhibitors and the small molecules. I really don't want to even try to attempt to pronounce that word. The corticosteroids used for short terms like flares and not for maintenance. Of course, you got diet therapy. And surgery. When it comes to surgery, I can't. It's possibly needed in up to 66% of the cases due to structures of fistulas and But anyway, when it comes to treating it, the goal is to get the inflammation under control. So the patient can't go into remission. Since the patient can't go into remission, we use anti-inflammatory drugs and biologics. They are specifically designed to block those TNF proteins. So diet changes are huge too. In really bad cases where the intestine is too damaged or blocked, is like I said, where surgery comes into play, and it's usually just the last resort to remove the messed up sections. So you can't do anything but really just try your best in this case. When it comes to our recent research on the Crohn's disease, it's really interesting. It's very interesting for the future because researchers are looking into the gut microbiome actually, which is trillions of bacteria. And I mean it's a lot. We're made up of a lot of things, a lot of living things in us. So to see if we can fix Crohn's by changing the bacteria. So they are also working on personalized medicine, where they look at your specific DNA to figure out which drug will work best for you. And there's even more experimental stuff with stem cell therapy, and that looks pretty promising for healing the gut lining. For instance, if I could, for instance, in the top-down therapy, they're using biologics immediately upon diagnosis rather than waiting for milder drugs to fall. In the microbiome precision, they're researching synthetic microbiomes to restore good bacteria. The advanced thing they're doing is combining two biologics simultaneously for severe treatment-resistant cases and for dual action drugs. They're finding new molecules that block multiple inflammatory pathways at once. Now, I'm not even sure if I'll even touch the 8-minute mark, if I'm being completely honest. But to wrap it up, you got the references. Here are the sources that I use for the presentation. It also includes some recent journal articles from the last couple of years that cover the newest biological treatments. I want to, I guess, go ahead and read this. I went into Da Silva Junior, which is the RT at Apollonium. You got De Souza Nacimiento. You got, which is J.O. You got Da Costa, Mahiero, and Silva Luz. And then you got De Carvalho, which something on my computer, and Da Silva Santos, y Ferreira de Melo, and which was in the Crohn's disease and clinical management today, and how it does, World Journal of Methodology. I got links here just to prove it. Then I also use Evolution of Advanced Combination Treatment and Inflammatory Bowel Disease by Gastroenterology and Hepatology. And I went to National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease, and Targeting the Gut Microbiome in Inflammatory Bowel Disease from Concept to Clinical Reality. There's another link there. Thank you for listening. I hope this is enough, and until next time.